Dialogue Breaks on Radio Jeem.
And of course, indeed, we're taking Parliament to the people right here on Radio Jeem. My name is Elfas Nkosi. This is the Dialogue Breaks. It's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon as we bring you, as I always say that the country, in most cases, it's full of negativities, negative news, bad news, but at least right here on Radio Jeem. And I'm sure you're listening to us wherever you are in the country. We are streaming live on www.radiojeem.co.za. You can catch us and join the conversation. We talk about the new divorce laws coming to South Africa. What am I talking about? You may be asking yourself. Cabinet has approved the submission of the draft divorce amendment bill of 2023 to Parliament. Now, the bill was approved by Parliament and it seeks to amend the Divorce Act of 1997, but none other than Honorable Ganief Hendricks, the party leader, Jama-ah party leader and member of Parliament who pushed to the limit until this has happened. He's joining us on the line to help us unpack us and tell us about the successes, how rigorous this task was. Honorable Hendricks, thank you so much. Welcome to the program and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll talk about this this amendment bill. New divorce laws are coming to South Africa. I think you've been having meetings, you've been pushing for this. Ultimately, this seems to bear fruits. Tell us about how you're feeling. How does this make you feel right now?
Look, I'm very happy that the Cabinet has approved the amendments that we made to the divorce court, because it makes it now easier to get approval from Parliament, because Parliament has to vote on those amendments. And then if Parliament votes in favor of the amendments to the Divorce Act, it will then eventually land up with the President to sign so that it becomes effective. And the fact that the Cabinet, chaired by the President, has approved the amendments will only make it easy. But let me take you back to how it all started.
Yes.
29 years in our democracy, we find that Muslim women in a nikah could not approach the divorce court for relief, whereas most women in South Africa, after a breakdown in their marriage, could approach the divorce court when it came to several matters, including propriety rights, including safeguarding the interests of minor children so that there's food on the table for them. And then, of course, they could approach the family advocate to adjudicate on the future of the children and to ensure that the best interests of children are served. So Muslim women in a nikah were denied all these opportunities, and everyone is supposed to be equal under the law. And here the government has failed the nation by excluding women in a nikah. Now, I know there are other women also excluded, but, we not representing them. I can only speak on behalf of my constituency and on people in my faith. I can't speak for other faiths. So that is what we stand. So, Alphas, as you know, that there was a constitutional court judgment which declared the Divorce Act unconstitutional, and the Divorce Act required the executive, and it required Parliament, and it required the President to make those 4 or 5 amendments that were found to be unconstitutional. So it was a very easy job, because you just look at 4 clauses and you fix it. So it has also always been my view as a member of parliament
Yes.
that when the Constitutional Court issues an order, then it is also my responsibility as a member of parliament to do what I can to implement that order. So, in most cases, you expect the executive, that is the cabinet, and the president to take the initiative. But I just had a feeling, Alphys,
Yes.
that they are going to be slow off the ground
Mm.
because of my experience with other bills that or other acts of parliament that required amendments as a result of constitutional court judgments.
Mm. Mm.
The constitutional court normally gives you 2 years, but they never make the deadline and they always ask for extension. So what worried me with the Divorce Act is that the judgment suggested that please don't come to us for extensions.
Mm. Mm.
And so 1 or 2 weeks after the judgment, I then wrote to the speaker and said that I would like permission to amend to have a go at amending the Divorce Act in terms of a private member's bill.
Yes.
And the speaker approved it. It was tagged. The head of legal services in Parliament provided me with a dedicated advocate. We met, and all I told the advocate was, look, you saw this is the judgment. It's only 4 clauses that has to be amended.
Yes.
Can you come up with a draft that will address the shortcomings in those 4 amendments?
Yes.
Alpha's the Fifth Amendment is just a title,
Yeah.
so it's not really substantive.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So the advocate of Parliament asked me now, do you have any angles? Do you have any approaches? I said, no. Here is a constitutional court judgment that says it's unconstitutional. You are the legal eagles. You've got a big department that you have resources.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Yes.
And within 6 weeks, Alphys,
Yes.
they came with the first draft because this advocate was dedicated to myself as a member of parliament and leader of Al Jama-ah in parliament.
Yes.
And I was pleasantly surprised how easy it was to amend those 4 clauses. So the first clause dealt with the definition of a Sharia because the Constitutional Court said that a Sharia marriage is a valid South African marriage, but that wasn't recognized in the Divorce Act. So you fix it. And you can't fix it without having a proper definition.
Yes.
So I looked at the definition and I was pleasantly surprised that the definition proposed by Parliament's legal drafting team was nearly 100% correct.
Yes.
So I just made a change to that definition after consulting muftis and maulanas and sheikhs. I made a very minor change to that definition, and I included a term which we call al-urf, which means that you recognize customs
Yes.
in the Muslim community. And Muslim communities live in different locations, different areas, so they may have different customs. So that's the one change I made. The only other change I made was that Muslim women can only approach the divorce court after a Muslim judicial body has granted a talaq, or what they call a divorce.
Yes.
So that means the alternative dispute resolution procedure that exists in the community must be used.
Yeah.
And only if that alternative dispute resolution structure can assist a woman in terms of the Sharia rights,
Yes.
then she can approach the divorce court.
Yeah.
Because it is only obvious that the alternative dispute resolution structure in the Muslim community is better placed to address consequences of the marriage,
Yeah.
consequences that must now arise as a result of a divorce.
Yes.
So I then submitted the amended draft, and a month later, I got a certificate of constitutional compliance. So the Special Constitutional Committee in Parliament approved our amendments and approved the definition of Sharia. And for the first time, I think, in the world, there is a definition of, there's a proper definition of the Sharia in a country's legislation. And that will be a game changer. It will be a model for many African countries and other countries in the world where there are Muslim majorities and Muslim minorities. So yes, you asked the question, how do I feel? I feel that this is monumental, that we've made a great contribution, and that other processes followed. And you've heard, and your listeners have heard, that the cabinet has approved my 4 amendments to the Divorce Act to comply with the Constitutional Court judgment. So cabinet is off the hook. They don't have to submit the bill. Parliament is off the hook. Jama-ah has done the work for them. So I hope they say thank you very much, Jama-ah.
Exactly, absolutely. Because I mean, when I look at some of the provisions in this, is the recognition of Muslim marriages, the requirements for the conclusion of a valid Muslim marriage, the solemnization of Muslim marriages, the registration of Muslim marriages, the property and other consequences of Muslim marriages. So, and then it speaks about the dissolution and consequences of dissolution of Muslim marriages. It seems to me that you've worked very hard, to get into this level. But then when you look at all these achievements, and this is now been, I mean, when you look at this thing, it's been now reported to some of the biggest newspapers. I mean, your business tech has written this, and Jama-ah, your name is there. What does this now mean for the party itself? You've been advocating this. Could this perhaps maybe, be something that the party would use as a message for next year's the 2024 elections?
Look, Elvis, I think that we have shown, myself as a member of parliament and as a leader of Jama-ah in parliament, I have shown that we know how to legislate. We know how to draft bills. We know how to draft amendments to acts to such an extent that we get constitutional master certificates. That in itself is an achievement. And then the process after that, obviously political parties needs to be lobbied. They have a vote, because at the end of the day, they have to vote in favor of the amendments or in favor of a new bill. So we can send out a message to voters that here is a political party that knows how to draft legislation. And I think, Alpha, one of the most important responsibilities of a member of parliament and a political party that enters parliament is you must be able to draft legislation.
Exactly.
It's not only the ruling party that must draft the legislation.
Yes.
Every political party, and there are 14 of us, must show that they can draft legislation. So we have now drafted legislation to two bills. Sorry, let me start over again.
Yes.
We have drafted 1 bill, which is called a Registration of Muslim Marriages Bill, and we've amended 2 acts. We've amended the Maintenance Act, And you've spoken a lot about that in previous programs. And number two, we've amended the Divorce Act.
Yeah.
So Al Jama-ah has shown that we know how to come up with a new act, and we know how to amend existing acts. And we now have our first taste of success in that our amendments to the Divorce Act has been approved by Cabinet.
Yeah.
So Cabinet represents the majority party. They have the numbers. So when it is voted on, the chances are that our amendments will be approved unless there's some, opposition parties come up with a position that sways Cabinet. But it's only 4 clauses, and we're very bullish that that amendments will be passed, and secondly, that Parliament will meet the deadline set by the Constitutional Court, which is June next year. Look, there's still work to be done on the maintenance, on amendments to the Maintenance Act, and there's still work to be done on our registration of Muslim marriages bill, which may also be part of a master bill for South Africa to deal with marriages. So the message is quite clear that here is a political party that knows how to legislate.
Indeed, absolutely. And then my question now becomes that when you do all this and doing all this presentation, then what reaction have you got from the ulama bodies with regards to this milestone?
Look, the ulama body has been mute because I don't know why. They have all been consulted. But they have been mute. But many mosques have given us an opportunity to explain to their congregation what is happening. And in fact, this Friday in the Pelican Park Mosque, I will be doing a pre-sermon so that people can understand what progress we've made. So we're also coming out for the first time with a 4-pager. It will be distributed at all the Cape Town mosques this Friday. And also this Friday, it will be distributed at many mosques.
Yes, yes. Yes, yeah. This is a work of a leader who's ready to serve. Because I remember reading one of the party's manifestos that you are ready to serve, not to be served. This is just a true reflection of what the party does. And I mean, when I listened to you the day you met with the Home Affairs Minister, the Home Affairs Minister referred to you as the champion of an activist and a champion to women and children. And Honorable Hendricks, I'm going to invite other parties like your social justice so that they can come and put their views, especially to what you've just started right now. And this is a very, 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 I think, positive thing, especially, to the constituencies, which means it's the Muslim voters. I must say so. It's a very good thing. So,
I was very surprised when the Minister of Home Affairs positioned me as a champion of women, and then he was referring to our amendments to the Maintenance Act. And now with the registration of Muslim marriages, the Divorce Act,
yes.
and other matters, and the minister has also looked at some of the proposals I had. Number one, that Al Jama-ah has a help desk at Home Affairs offices, and he's agreed to that because we find that when it comes to legislation and implementation, people need to come to visit Home Affairs. And last two occasions, there was very poor support. When the population register was amended to include marriages. So now we don't want that to happen again. And also the minister listened to my plea to assist indigent women who can't afford lawyers to do a marriage contract and also a contract for the deeds office if there's property involved. So I think that's why I said I agree to it, and then label me as a champion of women, not only Muslim women, but all women.
Exactly. Honorable Hendricks, we wish you all the best. You and I were still going to chart a way forward for 2024 and some of the bills that are coming. And I'm more interested in some of the programs that the party is upon right now. You've been on the road. You've been doing a lot of work into rural areas. You spoke about, bringing, progress into the villages.
Fine.
Yes, so we'll do that. But thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate your time, Honorable Hendricks, and all the best.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's a very big thank you there. That is the Jama-ah political party leader. It's Honorable Ganief Hendricks. We don't want to talk about all these negativities, but I know that there's a good in the manner that the mayor of Joburg, I saw the mayor of Joburg, which he belongs to the Jama-ah political party. They had a meeting with the likes of the Sechakana or the Reserve Bank. That gives me hope that, look, the party, as much as there's a lot of criticism, but the party is hard at work. Well, this is the Dialogue Breaks right here on Radio Jeem. My name is Alpha Sinkosi. You and I will do it again, same time, same place. That is tomorrow. You have a lovely and a blessed afternoon. It's bye-bye.
Taking Parliament to the people. Dialogue Breaks on Radio Jeem.